especially with people like coming at me. I guess I was just used to everyone in LA being fake to my face. What program did you go through? Talking about cost, and I'm actually gonna like give you guys exact numbers. So they charged me $4,800 for my accommodations, especially like going out culture. Oh, let's talk about that a little bit. Hi guys, it's Hailey here, and today I'm gonna be filming a video all about my experience living in London and studying abroad there. And I'm currently actually in Paris. This is my Paris apartment. You guys will definitely see a lot more of this, and I'm gonna film a separate video about living in Paris and why I'm doing this two-part study abroad program in 2 different cities and all that stuff. So I moved to London from LA. I was in London for 3 months, and I moved to Paris the first day of 2022. I actually have like a whole London series on my channel, so you guys can watch all my London vlogs. It kind of gives you insight as to what like my day-to-day looked like. But I also got so many requests to just do a sit-down video and kind of break down like how much it costs to move to London, what study abroad program did I do, what was my experience like. I consider myself a pretty like independent person. I grew up moving so many times. I've lived in like so many different cities because my family would move a lot. But moving to London on my own, like completely on my own, like a different time zone across the ocean, away from my family, away from my boyfriend, all my friends. So I kind of was like a fish out of water in the United Kingdom. If you're planning on moving to London or studying abroad in England, I feel like this is gonna be the perfect video for you, and I have a lot that I wanna get through, so let's go ahead and get started. Oh, by the way, don't forget to subscribe because I'm gonna be moving around a lot. If you guys wanna follow my adventures, I would love to have you guys be a part of this journey. What program did you go through? Was it through UCSB? How much? The way that I went abroad was through my home university. All the UCs are actually connected when it comes to studying abroad, so if you go to UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC Irvine, UC San Diego, like any of the UCs, you would be able to do the program that I did, depending on your major. I'm a communication major. I personally think that the UC system makes it so easy to study abroad and gives you so many options. Like there are over 100 cities that you can choose to go abroad, I believe. I'm 4th year, even though like academically, technically, because of my units, I'm still a junior, but I'm in my 4th year of college. You guys know I've been like taking a little bit of time off here and there because of YouTube. And I also just like don't like being on my home campus. I wasn't like set on studying abroad in London like the minute I started college. I actually just knew I wanted to study abroad in Paris just because I did French all throughout high school, and I just wanted to go live in Paris so that I could like become fluent, or as close to fluent as I possibly could. I was really frustrated because the Paris program that I kept applying to kept getting canceled. So I was like, you know what, I'll just try my luck and I'll do this London program. I'll just apply to that one, and I'll still go ahead and apply to the Paris program and see if that happens. But if not, like I was just trying to keep my options open. I hadn't even ever been to London, so I didn't even know if it like would be a city that I would want to live in, but I just wanted to get out of town. Talking about cost, the way the UC program prices the study abroad tuition in comparison to like your at-home tuition is actually pretty similar, which a lot of people don't know. I just have to pay for my own housing, and obviously housing differs from city to city, but that's gonna be the case no matter where you move. And I'm actually gonna like give you guys exact numbers, like how much I paid my school to go to UC. Like I'm gonna put it on the screen. I don't have financial aid, but I pay in-state tuition because I'm a California resident, and that's without housing included. So they charged me $4,800 for my accommodation, so living there for 3 months, on top of what my regular cost of tuition would be back home, which is around 5 grand. They added like an extra $3,000 because I was doing that study abroad program. I technically ended up paying $3,000 more because I chose to go to London than I would have if I had just stayed in Santa Barbara, because believe it or not, living in Santa Barbara, living in any college town costs a lot because landlords fucking hate us. In total, I paid $12,000 for 3 months of tuition and rooming there. So because my accommodation was $5,000 for 3 months, divided by 3, I ended up paying like $1,600 for myself for housing. UCAP offers a bunch of scholarships for people who want to go abroad, and the requirements for applying to these scholarships are really not that much. much. Like a 1-page personal statement as to why it's important for you to study abroad. Like really basic, simple things like that. You can go on this website called bold.org, which is actually like a website that I work closely with. It's just like the easiest way to apply for scholarships. I'll link it down below. Just apply to a bunch of things and you will, like guaranteed 1 or 2 of them will give you money. Even if it's like $500, $1,000, it's still something, you know, and you don't have to do that much. It's like usually a mini essay. So definitely take advantage of that. Now I kind of want to get more into life in London and living experience and living alone and going abroad. Is London really that expensive? London runs with the pound, and the pound is much stronger than the US dollar. So the way the conversion works is when we were there, it would go back and forth between a 1.3 and 1.4. So for every £1, that would equal $1.3 or $1.4. When we would go to the supermarket, everything looked cheap. This is like the randomest example, but like I just saw this thing of raspberries, so I'll tell you. Like raspberries in a Ralph is like $5, right? In London, it would be like £2. And I'd be like, oh damn, that's cheap. Even though the number at the checkout looked significantly less than what I would pay at like the same supermarket run back home. When you do the conversion, honestly, it does kind of like end up being the same. I wouldn't say that like London was significantly way more expensive than living in LA. For me personally, like it was cheaper just because I was living in shared housing. I didn't have my car lease anymore. I canceled my fucking health insurance. Fuck that shit. I love the NHS. It was beautiful. I was just taking the metro everywhere. So I ended up spending less money than living in LA. LA is a really expensive city anyways. I would say they were the same. Like when we would go to restaurants and stuff, things would just cost the same. But you know, if you are coming from a city that isn't as expensive as LA, then yeah, London would definitely be a little bit more expensive. But one thing that is more expensive is like clothing and like shoes and like just shopping, like fashion things. Because they left, I took a class on like Brexit, so I know like everything about it now. Because Britain left the European Union, now they have all these like import taxes and custom fees. So things I think are gonna start to get a little bit more expensive in the UK, especially now in 2022 when like Brexit is like fully kicking in. But like shoes, phone, clothing, like that's stuff that you don't really want to buy there. I'm also studying abroad and feel incredibly lonely without my friends. How do I cope with that? So I feel your pain. I was also feeling really lonely. I would actually cry like for the first few nights, which is so like not usually my personality. Like usually I'm very like outgoing, independent, but yeah, it wasn't really like that. I was really emotional for the first few days, and then I was like, why am I so sad? And then I would get more sad. And my roommates actually a few weeks later were like, hey, we don't want to tell you, but like you looked really like down bad the first week. And I was like, damn, I didn't know that you could tell from the outside, but I really was, because I had spent that entire summer like literally 24/7 with Tom, my boyfriend. I'd like had never lived in a different time zone than my family. Like I'd gone to live alone like in Santa Barbara, like moved out, and I had my own apartment, but like we were in the same city. And also like my sister's in New York now, so it was just like I just felt like we were all very spread out and I felt really lonely. First of all, give it some time. Like that is something you really can't control. You just need some time to go by, and then you're gonna like start settling in more. 2, reach out to people through Instagram or like TikTok. I would make TikToks about like studying abroad. I swear to God, the algorithm works in a way where if you're alone studying abroad in London and you make a TikTok about it, it's gonna end up on the For You page of someone else. Take advantage of social media. Reach out to people. It's really not weird. Like if you see someone studying abroad, like go on their profile, reach out. I was there for like a short period of time. I think what I kind of was more so doing was romanticizing living in London and being an independent girl. It depends on what you want to get out of the experience. I wanted to really like focus on myself, and I wanted to really like become strong and independent in the way that I don't need anyone else and I can just like do this on my own. So I think like what my daily routine kind of looked like was like when I didn't have school, go to a workout class, like get my workout in, and then go to a cafe and do my work. And then I would walk around alone a lot and never feel lonely, just because I had my own company and I was listening to a podcast, or I was just like taking everything in and just like pretending I'm in a movie, and that was enough for me. Like that just really made me happy and fulfilled in being there. So I think it really depends what you want to get out of it. And also there's nothing wrong with just like being in a city and kind of like finding yourself and not meeting a lot of people and not making a bajillion friends and just like focusing on yourself and taking in the city alone. Do your own thing, girl. best clubs, pubs you came across. Okay, so all my recommendations, I actually made like a guide on Google Docs with like restaurants and places I liked and also did not like and would not recommend you guys to go there. So I'm gonna link that down below. So everything that's like a recommendation of like a breakfast place, a club, place to eat, like what are the best study spots to work in, like that's gonna be my guide. So all that you can find through the link down there. Packing essentials when studying abroad, what to leave at home. Okay, so glad someone asked me this question. So I would just say bring a lot of shit to layer because it gets cold. Have a lot of like basics when it comes to layering, like long sleeve bodysuits, tank top bodysuits. Bodysuits are great because like they like cover your belly, and I think that really helps with like not being cold. Turtlenecks, long socks, maybe like thermal stuff that you can wear underneath your jeans because it would get cold like that. Have like one big coat because you're gonna need it, preferably with a hood, because everyone says that it rains a lot in London, and it definitely does, but the way that it rains isn't like cats and dogs. It's like it'll be in sparks throughout the day, and it'll be like a really light drizzle that's kind of annoying to walk in, but also like it's a little too windy and it's not enough rain to bring an umbrella. So that's why it's good to have like a big puffer that's like waterproof with a hood, because that's gonna be like your go-to jacket, preferably in black so that it matches everything. And then also those coats that are long. Like I had a thing, I thought they were really ugly, like the coats that are like past your knees. I don't know, I just kind of look like a burrito jacket or something like that, but they do keep you warm. Saved my life, so would definitely recommend that. Scarves, that stuff. Oh, this is if you're going in the winter, obviously. And then also like I brought a lot of tank tops. I was like, you know what, I'll just wear it when I'm going out underneath my jacket and then take it off and it'll be warm. No, girl. London is a walking city, so when we would go to clubs and when we would go to pubs or whatever, you're not taking an Uber. You're not getting in a car and getting out of a car and just going inside the establishment. Like, we would just be like, you know what, fuck it, let's just walk. It's 15 minutes. And then you're like freezing your ass. I brought so many tank tops and little t-shirts that I was like, you know, I'll wear it indoors, blah, blah, blah. Did not end up wearing any of that. I just brought so much stuff that I thought I was gonna wear that was like more summery in the winter, and then did not end up wearing any of it. And then also, people don't really wear like leggings and sweats. Like, people look nice when they're outside doing their daily things. So yeah, that was another thing. I love just my go-to sweatsuits. Obviously it gets to a point where you're like, fuck it, but that's just something to know. How are the transports in London? Also for moving at night. Glad you asked this, because the tube is something that really changed my life, because especially coming from LA where the distance between things are so far and you need to have a car to literally survive in LA or like get anywhere, having the tube really was life-changing. Like, not thinking about parking, not thinking about traffic. Obviously, like during rush hour times, it does get a little like crowded inside the tube, but other than that, like, it's so easy. It took me like a week or so to figure it out because I'd never lived in a city with a subway system. But if you're coming from a city with a subway system, you're gonna be totally fine. You need this card. It's called an Oyster card, and you can buy it at like tobacco shops or, you know, like little convenience stores, and then you can fill them up at the station. It makes transportation so easy. You can use the same card on the bus. Use the bus. It's really fun to get on the bus and go on like the double deckers, go on like the top floor, sit in the front and just like watch everything. It's also a good idea to take the bus, especially like in the first few weeks that you get to London, because being on the bus and like being above ground and seeing where you're going allows you to kind of understand the city a little bit better. It's like easier. You're gonna have a great time with the tube. I love her. Piccadilly line was like my go-to line. I miss it. I kind of want to talk about like the things that you guys didn't ask me, but I just like feel like I want to get them out there. I think London definitely is a city that has its own unique personality. A lot of people compare London to New York, and it definitely is similar in the sense that like when you're on the street, people are hustling and bustling. Like, people have somewhere to go. Like, when you're out and like looking around, it's like no one's just like, I feel like in LA, if people are walking, like they're just walking around casually strolling. Like, no one's really going anywhere. But in London, it's like when you look at people, they have somewhere to be and they're gonna go there. People are also a lot more, I guess, like similar to the way that New Yorkers would be. They're just like a lot more upfront with things. I had actually a lot of experience experiences, especially in customer service, where I like felt like people were being rude to me, or people were just like, I don't know, they just like don't beat around the bush. Giving you guys like the smallest example, like this one time I was at this cafe and I ordered this tea, and like you ordered on your phone and it hadn't showed up for a while. So I went up to the bar area and I was like, hey, I ordered this and it didn't show up. I've been sitting over there. It's been 30 minutes. I just got one tea. So then she was just like, we probably brought it to you, but you just weren't sitting there. You know, it's like no one in LA or even America in general would kind of say that to you. Like people would just be like, okay, like no worries, I got you, I'll bring you something else. But it's like, no, like they really don't give a fuck. Like if you never return, like fuck you, we don't care. And that happened to me a lot. I remember this one time I was 5 minutes late to a workout class and they hadn't even started the class yet. Like I could see the room and they were just like, everyone was taking their shoes off and stretching, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry, like checking in for Hailey, and she was like, no, like sorry, you can't go in the class. And I was like, bro, and you know, they're just like, no, sorry. I don't know, I went to this one place once where I was like plugging my computer into the wall next to this lady sitting next to a plug, and she went full on out at me and she was like, do not ever lean over me like that ever again. I don't know, it's so attack mode. So yeah, British people might be a little, I'm not saying they're all like that, I'm not trying to stereotype them. I just had a lot of experiences like that where they're just kind of like, especially like going out culture. Oh, let's talk about that a little bit. I really want to get into the going out culture because your girl had no clue, especially coming from LA where nightlife is so much more different. Oh, this is something that you also should pack if you want to go out, which I hate that I have to say this and like contribute to this disgusting system, but the way that going out works in London is like you literally need to look like you're going to your bachelorette party. Girls glam up when they're going out. Like I'm talking like dress with heels, hair done, makeup done, they all look gorgeous. But it's like, I get it that there are times when you do want to like glam up and go out, but a lot of the times in LA when I would go out to clubs or like parties and stuff, for me it was just like leather pants, crop top, we're out of here, Doc Marten boots. And that's like every girl's like going outfit, I feel like in London, it's like if you go, the bouncers, the security people at front will be so rude to you. Like that's another thing, they do not care, they are brutal. So many times have I seen, even myself, this has happened to me, the bouncer being like, sorry, I can't let you in looking like that, and you just get out of the line. If they do not think that you are good looking enough, they literally will be like, sorry, that's not happening for you guys tonight. Which is so like humiliating, and like who the fuck are you to tell me, like, you know? But that's just like the system that they have set up, and I hate that we have to like go through shit like that just to have a good time. You can go to a bar or like a pub, they don't care how you dress. You also need to know like a promoter to go out, but that's like the case in a lot of cities, I feel like, so I kind of was expecting that. Another thing, get a PRET subscription. It's kind of like their version of a Starbucks. It's more popular than Starbucks there. It's called Pret a Manger. You can get a subscription that's £20 a month, and then you can get 5 free drinks every single day for the entire month, and your first month is free. So if you're there for 3 months, then you can just make a new account with a different email every month and you're good to go. But don't keep doing that because I feel like karma will get back at you if you're there for longer than 3 months. And also get their matcha lattes with the coconut rice milk. I usually get matcha with O, but trust me on this one, the coconut, the original milk that it comes with is so much better. Even though at first I definitely did have a hard time adapting to London, especially with people like coming at me. I guess I was just used to everyone in LA being fake to my face. It's kind of like ripping the band-aid off. Like people are just gonna be honest with you. They're just being genuine and authentic. Like they're not trying to be like more brutal than they need to be, I guess. British people are funny. Waiting in line with people, like trying to get in places, like they just make funny little comments. When I was there, I was like, I'm so glad that I came here to like experience this, and I would definitely do it again. Honestly, now when I think about it, I would go back to London, maybe for like a year to live there, but it's definitely not a city that I see myself settling down in, just because of like the weather situation really affects me, because I came from sunny California where I'm used to seeing blue skies and sunsets and like the sun, and I genuinely, I will be honest, I feel like I got zero energy from the sun the whole time that I was there. Yeah, it's not like crazy raining and it's not crazy cold, like Paris is even colder than London, but it's just always this gray atmosphere that's really settled in, which is like cool to experience for a few months. But I definitely feel like I'm sensitive to the light. I need to charge myself with the sun. Like I always grew up in places that were sunny and warm, so I don't know if I could do that for like a long term. But it was a city with a cool personality, and I think that you're gonna have a great time if you're moving there and you're gonna experience that because it's different. I've traveled to a lot of cities and I feel like it's very unique. I've never come across a city with that personality. If you have any more questions, leave them down below and maybe I'll film like a part 2 of this video. But thank you for watching this video. I will see you guys in my next one. Don't forget to subscribe. I love you guys so much, all the way to Pluto and back. Bye guys.